Hi, this particular Camp Canvas presentation covers assignments, specifically the Google LTI tool and then some other external tools. If you'd like to access the presentation and the notes within the presentation, there's a bit.ly provided for you on the screen. That bit.ly is case sensitive, so bit.ly/cc-LTI. My name is Mary Riddick. I'm an ITS at Ocean Lakes High School, and I'll be walking you through the topic today. I would encourage you to go ahead and open up your sandbox or whatever course you've been building in for other Camp Canvas sessions. This particular session focuses on the use of Canvas as a learning management system and how it will help empower students to succeed as learners, workers, and citizens. So we're focusing on the knowledgeable portion of the graduate profile. The first thing I want to talk about is essentially what is an LTI. We are focusing on the assignments feature of that Google LTI, but sometimes it can get a little bit confusing when you're talking about these different integrations. Essentially, LTIs are learning tools and interoperability. So they really allow for all these web-based applications from all these different companies to integrate within Canvas. And that really makes the platform better for students and for teachers so that you can really, as an instructor, mix and match all these different tools, textbooks within Canvas, and that data can transfer. That can include single sign-ons so that your students are automatically rostered for you. Specific content can be pushed through these LTIs. It also means that data can transfer with some of these back to the Synergy gradebook. Google and YouTube and other applications also easily embed or can be assigned to students. So we really want to learn a little bit about these LTIs so that we can learn to use them productively within Canvas. The overview of this session today and what we're going to be looking at specifically are LTI applications that have been purchased by the school division, or they can be applications that are purchased school-wide. Those applications tend to fully integrate within Canvas and you can use them for assignments. Some teachers have purchased applications on their own, and we just want to caution you, if you have purchased your own pro license, that doesn't necessarily mean it will integrate with Canvas. You'll need to check with the tool itself or maybe with your ITS for more information. So what this means for us in using these LTIs is you as teachers, when you are creating assignments, for the submission type, you can choose external tool and these different LTIs will load for you. They can help roster your courses. Applications like PlayPosit that include grades or point values can be scored and transfer back to Canvas as well. And that, of course, can go back to Synergy. These LTIs also help students complete assignments within Canvas. They don't have to go somewhere else to complete an assignment. They can access the assignment within Canvas. Those due dates are generated for students and they can see them in the to-do list. So it's really exciting and it helps with productivity for the students and the teachers to be able to use these different app integrations within Canvas. So today in this particular session, participants will be creating a Google LTI assignment using the external tools submission type. We're also going to review how students will complete and submit the Google LTI assignments. We're going to take a look briefly at teacher grading and feedback interface and what that looks like. We're also going to take note of some upcoming changes that we're looking forward to in August, maybe September of 2022. And then finally, we're going to explore the different VBCPS Integrated Resources list so that you can see which apps have been integrated and you know where to go to keep abreast of that information. All right, today's session is really going to focus on the Google LTI assignment option, simply because this one's available to everyone in the division, and it will probably be the one that's most used. Teachers can create assignments and push copies of Google files from their drive to that of all of their students using this integration. This one works with docs, drawings, Jamboards, slides, or sheets. Using this grading interface, teachers are going to have access to different Google features like comments, or you can check the version history. So if you're used to that, you can continue to use those options to provide feedback to your students. Additionally, the grades can populate in the Canvas gradebook and sync back to Synergy. So you don't have to re-enter those grades in the gradebook. You can simply pass them back to Synergy from Canvas. And then we're looking forward to, in the fall of 2022, an additional grading interface option for the Google LTI assignments. Right now, teachers can only use the Google grading interface. That's the one we're going to take a look at today. But we are looking forward to being able to use the Speed Grader option from Canvas to provide grading and feedback. So if you have looked into Speed Grader or have some familiarity with that, that may be something you prefer versus the Google comments and version history and the like. So we are going to go ahead and walk through the steps of adding an assignment. Since you're viewing a recording, you're welcome to watch a little bit and then do it as you go. I will come to a stop at the end after we create an assignment and then provide feedback. So there'll be points for you to pause. But if you want to follow along, you can go ahead to your sandbox. And we are going to add an assignment from the Assignments Index page in the left course navigation panel in our Canvas course. If you want to and you feel more comfortable and you've been trained on it, you can go to your module and add an assignment from there. But for this today, just to simplify it, we're going to go directly to that Assignments page. So go to the Assignments Index page, and from here, we want to click the blue plus assignment button. I will tell you, just as a best practice, you probably want to keep this Assignments Index page hidden from course navigation for students. That's what this little eyeball with the cross through it means. Since you're building assignments and content within modules, you don't really want the kids to go to the assignments page and see all of the assignments outside of the context of the unit. It might be confusing to them. They might not see what else it goes with. So it's best practice to keep that hidden from them. Your school may be doing that for you with a course template. All right, once we've clicked to add a new assignment, you'll see the assignment settings dialog box open up. You'll need to provide an assignment name. You have rich content editor area to provide details for students. You fill out the point value, assignment group, all of the other items. What we're looking for here specifically is the submission type. And we want to check the drop-down menu and select External Tool and then click Find. I will tell you other best practices. It might be good to come up with a naming convention for your assignments. This assignment is called 4.8. That could mean Unit 4, Item 8 within that module. Something that makes it easier for you to refer to students. And also it might make it easier for you to find in the Canvas gradebook. So you might consider naming conventions. You also want to take advantage of that rich content editor that you have available in each assignment so that you can provide more support for your students. All right, so we've selected submission type, external tool, and find. Here we're going to configure the specific external tool, and you need to look for Google Assignments LTI 1.3. Not Google Cloud, but the 1.3 LTI, and then click select. If you have not accessed Google prior to this, you may be prompted with a window that says link data or link account. You'll need to go through those steps first. And then once you've linked your VBCPS Google account to this application in Canvas, then you should see your Google identity. And then you want to go ahead and click continue so that you can attach items from your Google Drive to the assignment. Now this is the Google Assignments interface. Here you've got a few options, and we just want to point out some of those if you're not familiar with them. You might recognize some of this if you used this particular Google integration in Schoology. It was available. The first thing that we want to take a look at is the check plagiarism or originality. If you toggle this item on for your learners, this will generate what we call originality reports. Essentially, when you toggle that on, you enable students the ability to run these originality reports to see if they're inadvertently or consciously plagiarizing. These originality reports will check against Google to see if students have plagiarized or missed citations. Once users in the division start using it more, it's going to check against other papers and documents that have been submitted within the school division. So the more we use it, the more plagiarism is being checked. It will allow the students to actually check those so they can fix it before they turn it into you. Also, we'll see that we can attach a document to give each copy to a student. Again, that's drawings, docs, Jamboard, slides, etc. And the beauty of this for our teachers is you can use files from My Drive, but you can also use files from shared drives. Students also have the ability to attach additional files of their own to this assignment. They can also create new slides, presentations, or the like directly from this assignment, and you've got it all in one place. I do want to note that there is a best practice. You do want to make sure the total points and the due date in this Google Assignments interface match up with what you have in your Canvas assignment settings. So once you have all this filled out or completed, you want to click the blue Create button. This will take you back to Canvas, and it will look like you need to do this all over again. But when you see the Configure External Tool, Google Assignments LTI should already be selected, and you just click the blue Select button again. Should take you back to this dialog box where you see the submission type and external tool. And the way that you know that this has worked properly is you will see a URL, Google Assignments, and you see LTI here in the URL. That will be populated for you. I do want to tell you that generally I recommend unchecking the box for the Load This Tool in a New Tab. You always want to remind your students to return to the assignment within Canvas. You don't want them searching their Google Drives for the files. You want them to return to the assignment in Canvas. And a way to make sure they're doing that is to make sure that this tool doesn't automatically load in a new tab for them. It stays within Canvas. They do still have the option to pop it out, but it's just an easier way to get them back to where they need to be to find that submission button. All right, so remember I mentioned earlier that we want to make sure the point value in the Google Assignments pop-up window matches what we have in the Canvas assignment. So here, total points here, 25. The due date is here, but we need to make sure the due date is here so it populates for students in their to-do list in Canvas. So once you have completed this in Canvas, you can go ahead and click the Save and Publish button, or just save if you're not ready to publish, and that assignment is set up for you. So now it's your turn to walk through the steps. The steps are all listed here for you if you haven't been going along with us in doing that. All right, now you should have your own Google LTI assignment created in your Sandbox course. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what student interface looks like. We're also then going to take a look at what the teacher interface looks like, and unfortunately you're just going to have to follow along. Essentially, we love that Canvas has that student view option so that you can see what everything will look like for the students in your class. Unfortunately, that option doesn't exist for the Google LTI simply because there's not a dummy or test student Google account for Canvas. So even though you're trying to use Student View, you won't be able to see what the interface looks like for students. Obviously, if you have colleagues or students that you can add to your Sandbox course, you can look over their shoulder and go through the process of student submission and then teacher feedback. But for this particular course, we're just going to give you an idea of what that looks like so you can just try to learn more about it. Ideally, we'd like for you to understand student navigation within Google LTI just to provide support for your students. You really want to make sure they can access the assignments and then submit them properly. We do want to make sure we're reminding you to always ask your students to return to that assignment in Canvas. You do not want them to get in the habit of searching Google Drive and editing files that they find there, because it just may not be the document that's attached to this particular assignment. So let's take a look at what it looks like for learners. Obviously, if you have this built out in a module, they can see the assignment within a module. And that's great because they can see the context, everything that you covered leading up to that assignment. But also from their dashboard, as long as you have a due date included, it's going to show up on their to-do list as something that they need to do. So they're reminded about it. And it doesn't go away until they've completed it. They can exit and get rid of it, but it's just another way to remind them that the assignment is coming up. Once students go to the particular assignment, they'll see what you put in the rich content editor, the due date, and this will also ask them to load it in a new tab. This is again why we want to make sure they go back to the original assignment. Once they click this button, it's going to launch the Google Assignments tool. So we'll see up here in our browser window, we have the Canvas assignment. We also have the Google assignment where they have access to the document you've pushed to them. It has renamed it, so their name is on the document. They also have those abilities to add files or create new files. And they can also run up to 3 originality reports before they submit their work. In the third tab up here at the top, once they click on this document you have pushed to them, it'll open in a new tab, and that should be familiar to them. It's a Google Doc. They've got all the features that are in Docs to go ahead and work on that assignment. Once they're ready to submit the file, they will need to go back to this Google Assignments tab and make sure they're submitting the document itself. If they have run the originality report, there'll be information for those originality reports here. If they haven't run it, they'll be reminded of it at this point. Once they click that blue submit button, it'll ask them, are you sure? They'll click submit. And then this is what the interface looks like within Canvas once they have submitted the assignment. We do want to tell you when students submit their work, their access rights change to view only until it's been graded and returned by the teacher. So if your students are telling you they only have view rights to their assignment, it might be because they submitted it and it hasn't been returned to them and it's past the due date. In terms of looking at feedback after an item has been graded by a teacher, students will get full edit rights to their file. They have ownership over it. They can resubmit it. They can add additional files until that due date passes. They can see overall feedback, which is what's right down here. They can see any additional originality reports that were run. And they can open and view the comments on the Google file if you as the instructor provided comments on the document itself. Now, let's take a look at what that looks like for teachers. This may help you make a decision about the grading interface you want to use. This hasn't been updated yet, so I can't show you, but teachers should be able to choose between this particular interface and the speed grader interface. Both of them pass back to the Canvas gradebook, so that's helpful because they'll pass back to Synergy. Specifically, the Google Assignments interface, teachers can see student work in real time, and they have access to Google features like comments and version history. They can also access originality reports. If you're a teacher that needs to intervene in your student work, or you want to dip in on what they're doing before they turn it in, that Google Assignments interface is what you're going to want to use. If you have to see version history, if you like the comments features in Google, If the idea of those originality reports appeals to you, you want to stick with that Google Assignments interface. The Canvas Speed Grader interface is what should be available this fall. It essentially creates a snapshot of the file. It almost looks like a PDF. That Google file, the teacher never has access to the original file before submission, and there's no access to the original file. But if you just need to see it and provide feedback, some of our teachers really enjoy that SpeedGrader interface. They don't need all of the bells and whistles in the Google Assignments interface. So essentially, teacher grading in the Google LTI, you're going to return to that specific assignment and launch in a new tab. It doesn't launch from the to-do list or the upcoming list for teachers on the right side. You have to actually go back to that assignment to grade it and provide feedback, or you can actually check the assignment status. Here we can see it's assigned, but it hasn't been completed. Here we see it's been submitted. So really, when you're using this Google LTI tool, you want to look for this little box with the arrow coming out so that you can pop it up in a new window and expand your options. So providing feedback and grading. Some of these are similar to what you're going to see in SpeedGrader. In the upper right hand or upper left hand corner, you can sort by first or last name or submission status. You can use these arrows here to go from one document or student to the next. You also have the ability to provide a grade and provide feedback. You have all the features of Google Docs where you can comment. You can also build comment banks and reuse them over here. And you can see the history of all the files and when they've been submitted. So those are available for you as a teacher. When you've graded and provided feedback on the assignment, you can return an individual submission or multiple submissions. When you're doing this return process, this is when you're giving ownership of the file back to the student. So you'll see the status will appear as a graded assignment in that Google Assignments interface. And then if you go back to Canvas, and if you're looking at the grade book, you'll see the grade passed back here as well. So that's kind of what it looks like here. This is, again, kind of hypothetical because this isn't active yet, but there should be an option for teachers that are assigning through that Google Assignments LTI. They should be able to use the SpeedGrader option in Canvas to grade the work. Remember, we said this option was like almost like a PDF, like a snapshot of the assignment. You've got the option to change and filter the view here. You also can see the submission history. You can provide a score. You can use a rubric here as well and provide additional comments. You can attach files, record a video or an audio recording. And then some of you that have iPads, some teachers really say they like this because they can utilize all of these tools to write on the document. If you have a touch screen or a tablet that has those features, this might be something that you really want to try out, this SpeedGrader. You also have the ability to use this drop-down menu to filter students, see students, and then you can click the arrows to go between students. The last thing that we want to talk about here are the various Canvas integrations that exist. We want to show you how to access this list of external tools that have been fully integrated in Canvas for the school division. This list contains paid division-wide applications. Some apps may only be available to certain departments or secondary or elementary. This document will tell you that. Applications purchased by schools won't appear on this list. Those apps need to be installed by a Canvas administrator at your school. So you might check with your ITS if you know there's an app your whole school uses. And like we mentioned earlier, individual teacher accounts for apps really often don't fully integrate with Canvas. But again, you might want to check with your ITS on that or the company itself. So let's check out how to access this VBCPS Integrated Resources list and how to use it. If you're logged into Canvas, you're going to go to the blue global navigation panel on the left, and you're going to look for the Help button. From the Help button, this other list should launch for you. You want to scroll down until you see VBCPS Integrated Resources. Once you click on that option, this list should launch for you in a new tab. Essentially, this list is going to identify whether this is a division resource or if it's elementary, secondary, middle, or high. You'll also have the application's name. What's nice about this is they've listed a link to instructions for how to integrate or use that app within your Canvas courses. They've identified here whether the score or grade will pass back for that particular application if you're using it with assignments. And then there are just additional notes, so you can see, like, we can see MathSpace for secondary doesn't integrate yet, but a request has been made with the company. So you can kind of keep track of what applications are available to you and which ones you're using. If you have a request, they mention here to create a Service Cloud case, but you'll probably want to touch base with your ITS or curriculum specialists. All right, so now it's your turn. We want you to access that VBCPS Integrated Resources list to check it out on your own. From that global navigation menu on the left in Canvas, you want to select the Help button. And from there, you want to select VBCPS Integrated Resources, and that list will launch in a new tab. Now's your opportunity to take a look at that table and access instructions for a familiar application. If there are instructions there for you, we encourage you to go ahead and create an assignment that utilizes that particular application. I do want to note to you, some of these applications might not be fully integrated until Canvas is being used solely by the school division. And that means some applications that we pay for can only be used with one learning management system at a time. They might have been used with Schoology for summer school, so they just might not be available until maybe the first week of school. Again, you can always check with your ITS to access that information, or you can check with your specialists in teaching and learning. I do want to show you one application that I know many of our teachers use, and that is PlayPosit. So if I'm looking at PlayPosit here, I'm going to click on the instructions for the support site. And I did notice on here too that grade passed back. So this takes me directly to the instructions I need. Let's say I want to assign a graded bulb to learners in Canvas. So I'm going to click on that, and it'll take me directly to the instructions I need. So I know how to set up this as an assignment option. And this is an external tool option, just like the Google LTI. But this just walks you through the instructions. So it's a nice resource to know how to access and to check back with as needed. We hope that you have learned a little bit about the integrations in Google today, and that you can take what you've learned back to your schools to use it with students. We hope it makes you more productive and helps your learners not having to keep track of a lot of different things. We hope it helps with the grade pass back and rostering. If you have any questions, check in with your ITS. If you have opened this slideshow, there's also a link to a Canvas Google site that VBCPS Instructional Technology has put together for you. Have a good day. Thanks.